This narrative is not drawn from history. It's seeped from your inner world. Welcome to Silent Signs Stories. How do you decide if a life was successful? By the jobs finished? By the money earned? By the completed masterpieces left behind? The date, May 2nd, 1519, France, Amboise. In a room within the royal chateau, an old man is taking his last breath. His long white beard falls onto his chest. His hands are trembling. This man is Leonardo da Vinci, the greatest genius history has ever seen. The creator of the Mona Lisa, of the Last Supper. But in that moment, on his deathbed, he is weeping, and he is asking God for forgiveness. Do you know why? He says, "I have offended God and mankind, because my work did not reach the quality it should have, and I have wasted my time." Can you imagine? Leonardo da Vinci says, "I wasted my time." Because in his room, surrounding his bed, sit thousands of sheets of paper, unfinished projects, flying machines that never flew, bridges never built, paintings left half done. If the modern world looked at him, they would diagnose him with ADHD. They would say, he can't focus. They would say, he isn't result-oriented. But that was exactly Leonardo's secret. He didn't live for the result. He lived for the process. For him, the point wasn't to finish the painting and hang it on a wall. It was to solve the mathematics of light, shadow, muscle structure, and the soul behind the image. The moment he understood something, he stopped doing it. Because knowledge was his satisfaction. Execution was just a chore. Tonight, we enter that messy room. We will dive into those thousands of pages of notebooks, into that mirror writing, and we will ask this question: is knowing not enough? If you are ready, open the inkwell. We are entering the chaos of the mind. Leonardo's legacy is not his paintings. They are just the tip of the iceberg. His real legacy is the more than 7,000 pages of notebooks, the codexes. These notebooks are the purest, most unfiltered state of the human mind. What is in these notebooks? Chaos. On one page, he sketches the muscle structure of a woman's smile. Right next to it, a design for a war machine. Underneath that, a note: don't forget to buy vegetables for dinner. Next to that, a formula on the fluid dynamics of water. And all of it is written in mirror writing. It can only be read when held up to a mirror. Why? To hide it? Because he was left-handed? Or to scream that these notebooks were for himself alone? Leonardo didn't write to be published. He didn't sketch to be liked. He had to pour that unstoppable river of curiosity in his mind onto paper. For him, there was no difference between high art and grocery shopping. Everything was part of the universe. Everything was worth wondering about. Today, even when we take notes, we think, who will see this? How many likes will this tweet get? Leonardo wrote with the sheer lust of learning. His notebooks were not book drafts. They were a map of his mind. Leonardo's life motto was this: saper vedere, meaning knowing how to see. Most people look, but they do not see. Leonardo focused his gaze like a laser. One day, he sat by a riverbank for hours just to watch the wings of a dragonfly. There were no high-speed cameras back then, but Leonardo saw and sketched how those wings cut through the air, how the four wings moved in synchronization. Centuries later, when engineers looked at those sketches, they were shocked, because Leonardo had solved the laws of aerodynamics just by looking. For him, the eye was not the window to the soul. The eye was the judge of the universe. He saw the similarity between the ripples caused by a water droplet falling into a pond and the propagation of sound through the air. He said, "Everything is connected to everything else." Do you know what our problem is? We stopped seeing. We only recognize. We look at a tree and say, "That's a tree," and move on. We label it. Leonardo looked at that tree and saw the angle of the branches, the way the leaves turn toward the sun, the dance of the roots underground. Curiosity begins where labels end. The important question isn't, "What is this?" It is, "How does this work?" Leonardo's life is like a museum of the unfinished. His greatest tragedy? The Sforza horse. The Duke of Milan asked him to create the world's largest equestrian statue, made of bronze, massive. Leonardo studied horses for years. He sketched their muscles, their movements. He built a giant clay model. It was an engineering marvel. The molds were ready. Tons of bronze were collected. Leonardo was ready to make history. But then, war broke out. The French invaded Milan, and the bronze set aside for that statue was melted down to make cannonballs. French archers used Leonardo's magnificent clay model as target practice. They blew it to pieces. Years of work turned to dust in a single day. What did Leonardo do? Did he fall apart? Yes, but he wrote only this in his notebook. The Duke lost his horse. And then he went back to studying the flow of water. Then he went back to dissecting cadavers. Because for Leonardo, the point was not finishing the horse. It was understanding the horse. He had solved the anatomy of the horse. He had finished that statue in his head. The fact that it didn't exist physically did not diminish his knowledge. The world demands results. The genius demands comprehension. The moment you comprehend, the work is done, even if it is not cast in matter. Let this be a consolation to you. Your unfinished projects, your unpublished books, if they changed you, if they taught you something, they have achieved their purpose. The result is just satisfaction for the ego. The process is food for the soul. Leonardo's hunger for truth was as terrifying as his passion for beauty. At night, he would sneak into the morgues of Florence hospitals. It was illegal, it was dangerous, and it was disgusting. There was no refrigeration back then. Bodies rotted. The smell was unbearable. But Leonardo, knife in hand, opened those decaying bodies. Why? Was he a deviant? No. He was looking for the seat of the soul, how muscles connect to bones, the valves of the heart, the position of the fetus in the womb. He drew them for the first time in history. He is the ancestor of the illustrations in medical textbooks today. He knew that beauty, the Mona Lisa, did not come from the skin on the surface. It came from the bone, muscle, and blood underneath. He was not afraid to go deep. You cannot reach the truth without getting blood on your hands. An artist is not just someone who paints pretty landscapes. An artist is someone who looks into the face of death and decodes the mechanics there. In his notebooks, next to the face of an angel, there is a drawing of a dissected arm. That is life. Beauty and brutality, side by side. Now, let's leave the Renaissance and come to today, to our world, our result-oriented world. What do they tell us? Focus on one thing. Find your niche. Specialize. Don't be a jack of all trades. If Leonardo lived today, he would be considered a failure. Career counselors would tell him, "Leonardo, you can't do painting, engineering, and anatomy all at once. Pick one." Corporations would fire him for not delivering projects on time. But what made Leonardo Leonardo was this limitless curiosity. Specialization is for insects. Humans were created to be curious about everything. It is hard to be a polymath today, but not impossible. You have that curiosity inside you too. One day you want to learn coding, the next day gardening. One day you read history, the next day you play the guitar. And society screams at you, "Focus." Do not listen to them. Leonardo whispers to you, "Scatter, spread out, touch everything." Because life is too big to fit into a single profession. In one of Leonardo's final notebooks, there is a sentence tucked away in a corner. Written in a tired hand, it says, "I am still learning. Ancora Imparo." He is 67 years old, friend of kings, the greatest genius in the world, but he still calls himself a student. That regret on his deathbed was actually his greatness, because he knew that his potential was infinite, but his time was finite. Tonight, look at your own unfinished projects, your full notebooks, your scattered mind. Do not be ashamed of them. They are not your failures. They are the footprints of your curiosity. You don't have to finish everything. Just try to understand. Now, if you have the courage to let go of that obsession with results and follow your curiosity, sign your name down below. In Leonardo's infinite notebook, in the comments section, write only this: "I am a student." Let the projects remain unfinished, as long as your mind is complete. Remember, knowledge requires no result. Knowledge wants only to be itself. May your notebook be full and your curiosity infinite. I'll see you in the next one.